Hey, what's going on everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars Coffee, where today we're going to be talking about the sequel trilogy and how it had no endgame. That's today here on Star Wars Coffee. Welcome back to all of you returning subscribers, but if you're new to the channel and you're just finding me for the first time, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button on this video and any other video that you check out, and be sure to hit that notification bell so that the bell is filled in so that you never miss a single video the second it goes live. Alright, with that being said, we're going to dive into the article that brought me to this idea and rant and proof that the sequel trilogy had no endgame, and that comes to us via an exclusive Yahoo, which then was later reposted by comicbook.com, which just essentially gives us the details. So this is from Patrick Kavanagh over there, and it's called Carrie Fisher's brother reveals that Leia was supposed to be the last Jedi in Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. Alright, it says as follows, quote, Carrie Fisher completed filming Star Wars The Last Jedi before her passing, allowing the film to keep the role of Leia as it was originally intended. But the actress's brother Todd claims that one of the original intentions with Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker was to see Leia fully embrace her Jedi abilities and become the last Jedi of the Skywalker saga. Altering The Last Jedi to explain the character's absence from the upcoming sequel, director J.J. Abrams was able to utilize unseen footage from Star Wars The Force Awakens to reverse engineer an organic way for those sequences to be incorporated into the new film. Todd says, quote, she was going to be the big payoff in the final film. She was going to be the last Jedi, so to speak. That's cool, right? People used to say to me, why is it that Carrie never gets a lightsaber and chops up some bad guys? Obi-Wan was in his prime when he was Carrie's age. End quote. It's unclear if the original plan would have included seeing Leia wield a lightsaber, but Fisher's comments confirm remarks Mark Hamill made, who previously claimed that Leia was supposed to be the key figure in the upcoming film. Quote, I know they're going to try and find a way to close her story in The Rise of Skywalker that gives her the respect she deserves, because Han Solo was more prominent in The Force Awakens, Luke's a little more prominent in The Last Jedi, and certainly Leia was meant to be more prominent in The Rise of Skywalker, the actor confirmed in 2017. Todd Fisher went on to explain that the one reason he supported Abrams repurposing the unseen footage was due to the connection he had with the actress. He says, quote, the truth is that J.J. Abrams was great friends with Carrie. He had an extraordinary sense of love for her. They had 8 minutes of footage. They grabbed every frame and analyzed it, and then reverse engineered it and got it into the story the right way. It's kind of magical. This is, in its own way, a payoff. It's Carrie talking to us all from beyond. The beautiful thing about the concept of the Force is that there is no real death. You just exist in another dimension. So Carrie is looking down, or sideways, or wherever, and is still part of us. To be able to see that, it's magical stuff only in the movies. Alright, so, what does this tell us about the sequel trilogy and The Rise of Skywalker? Well, part of that is what Todd alluded to, where he goes on to say something that Mark Hamill originally brought up, which is the fact that Harrison Ford was Han Solo's big thing in The Force Awakens, and then Mark Hamill's Luke Skywalker was the big thing in The Last Jedi, and as the plan was supposed to have it, that Leia was going to be the big thing in The Rise of Skywalker. That's really as much of a plan as they had, and Mark Hamill even alluded to that in interviews that he did on The Last Jedi press tour. I have a specific video where he talks about that I will put in a card right up here, and I'll put that in the description below. But essentially, this really just gives credence to the idea that they have no endgame, that they didn't start with a full-fledged plan. And that is why Disney has announced that only trilogies from now on will have one director, to avoid what they have done with the Skywalker saga by getting hate from a lot of fans. And so JJ had to rewrite all of Episode 9 because Colin Trevorrow was originally supposed to do the project, and then he disagreed with the way that Disney wanted things to go, and so J.J. Abrams is back into the fold, and this really begs the question as to why they didn't just let J.J. do all of the films to begin with. Why wouldn't they just sign one director on to do all of them? Why would you go from J.J. Abrams to Rian Johnson to Colin Trevorrow? Especially when they aren't all gathered together to talk about one story. They say, all of the directors are saying that Ryan and JJ talked. I'm sure they talked, but I'm not sure they talked about a direction to go. They probably just gave notes on what they're doing. And we have proof of this, essentially the last 2 movies, where we've seen Snoke built up, and now he's just completely tossed out. He was complete pawn of Palpatine, so there was no point in that. The fact that Leia was supposed to be the initial Last Jedi going into The Rise of Skywalker is more proof that they didn't really have a plan. That shows that they had a plan in the sense that Ryan wanted to end it that way, but was unable to. And that also doesn't fit in with the fact that, in the sense that Disney is a business, businesses want to make money, and the way that they make money is by drawing in new audiences, being this next generation of Star Wars fans. They've already drawn their money in by tying the original trilogy to it, and now they're going to keep working with this Kenobi series, and they're going to be drawing more of this new generation to the prequel trilogy, and it's just going to continue on and on and on for generations to come. They had no plan. This has been said by Mark Hamill, and now we're finding out that it's been said by Todd Fisher, Carrie Fisher's brother. That's essentially what he's saying, is everything got put through the ringer when Carrie passed abruptly. And then, not even before that, it was already passed, where Mark Hamill also really spilled the beans on the Last Jedi press tour, saying that each director was just handing the baton off in a track race. And we were just going to see where it ended up, so that there was no real plan for that. So that is just something that's completely mind-boggling to me. Let's go back and talk about one of these quotes one more time. She was going to be the big payoff in the final film. She was going to be the Last Jedi. So, more credence to the fact that Leia was going to be the Last Jedi. So the Last Jedi title was initially supposed to be about her, and then I'm sure that in editing, Rian Johnson had to retweak it and re-edit the film to make it so that it seemed like Luke was the Last Jedi, until he died at the end of the movie, in which case Rey was supposed to be the Last Jedi. Now, we clearly didn't get any of that feeling, right? We got to the fact that Leia had survived, but wasn't the Last Jedi, and that the clear indication of the Last Jedi was Luke, because he was the one who took on the First Order. He went out there with his laser sword, as Luke put it in The Last Jedi, and fended off the entire First Order, and then goes on into the Force, which really just reinforced the idea that Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, was supposed to be the Last Jedi. But now they've been thrown into this whole crazy whirlwind of things post The Last Jedi, with more backlash than I assume that they intended, because The Force Awakens, despite what some people say, was really well received by both critics and fans. I would say it was a 90-10 split between those who liked it and those who didn't. And then with The Last Jedi, we had this really big issue with, I would say, Rian Johnson claims that 80-20 was his reaction in terms of his Twitter tweets that he was getting by people who liked the film and by people who didn't like the film. I would say a more accurate number, especially among the diehards, is 40-60 not in favor of the film, because of the whole Canto Bight plotline was totally useless in terms of the grand scheme of things, because they could have done the whole thing without it once they had Luke and once they had the coordinates on Crate. So that was completely useless. So I know I'm really kind of seems like I'm just crapping all over the sequel trilogy. I'm not. I'm just trying to illustrate the point that there is no overall plan. If you've been following this channel for any amount of time, you would know that I generally like the sequel trilogy. The Force Awakens is one of my favorite Star Wars movies. It's in the top 5, easy, and maybe even 3. I think it's 3. And so I clearly like it, and I'm going to get a hate in the comments for saying that, especially if you've made it this far in. You're probably just more of a daily coffee drinker anyway, so you probably already knew that. But The Last Jedi, the whole Canto Bight thing, I think was completely useless. When I think of The Last Jedi, I think of the Luke, the Rey, the Kylo, the Snoke stuff. I don't think of any of that subplot. And that's kind of the big problem now, that they're really trying to have to listen to fans, and JJ had to rewrite the script twice, and then has to reshoot essentially 60-70% of the movie, and now has to edit it in a way that's satisfying to all of the endings, given everything that's happened. And that's just a ridiculous task to try and take on, and especially with all of the negativity going in by a lot of the diehard Star Wars fans right now. Alright, rant over. Disney doesn't have a plan for this trilogy. They never did. That's why Bob Iger came out and said less is more, because they really got to figure out how they're supposed to do this, because they realize that this is a franchise people care about. This is a deeply cared about franchise and has deeply impacted many people's lives, and I don't think Disney realized that to the full extent until after The Last Jedi came out. Let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comment down below. Let me know what thoughts you're specifically talking about in these comments, because I do want to engage with you. I want to have a good discussion here on this. Alright, thank you guys for watching. God bless, and may the Force be with you.